Hi, I'm Peter Haddock and it's here in Grasmere and it's quite early in the morning, but I've come up to here to meet Joel from Walking with the Wounded. A fantastic charity, Joel, that I've been invited this morning, in fact Saturday morning, to come and see the team here, yourselves, and also a lot of walkers that are walking with the wounded. Fantastic charity. Sunbelt Rentals asked me to come up and document this, and I'm delighted to be here. Joel, what is the walk all about for starters? And then let's talk a little bit about the charity and how it can help.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the first thing, Pete. It's very, very early here on Saturday. So we got up at about 5 a.m. for a roll call at 5:45.
Yep.
But actually the guys have been camping out. About 600 walkers are going to be with us. It's the first time we've been able to do an event in about 18, 24 months thanks to the pandemic. So it's really nice, fantastic atmosphere. As you've mentioned, all these guys are coming to support Walking with the Wounded, a charity that supports wounded veterans that have landed on hard times, get back on their feet. And we support in employment, mental health and care coordination. We also do volunteering as well. These guys know what it's all about. They're here to fly the flag, to represent, to raise some fantastic funds and to propel the charity and put us on that platform and pedestal that I think we deserve.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why I wanted to come up, because for me, Walking with the Wounded, it's a very interesting phrase because you can physically see when somebody is wounded. But
Correct.
As we all know, particularly with men in construction, it's the mental health, which is not the visible walking with the wounded element, isn't it? And you
Absolutely.
do a lot of work on both those factors, finding people jobs that have had a wound as such when they've been in the job, but also it's that mental health element, getting them back into work after they've maybe had some severe trauma, isn't it?
Oh, correct, yeah, absolutely. If we're being honest, the last conflict that we've had, obviously the Middle East, we're talking 20 years ago in some instances when it first kicked off. So actually in terms of physical injuries, it's about a 5% amount of those that we would support would have physical injuries. The real issues are the invisible injuries that you've mentioned, those which are hard to pick up. And actually, if this pandemic's taught us anything, it's that can manifest and lead to social isolation.
Yeah.
Those individuals become harder to reach. And actually Walking with the Wounded is all about reigniting that sense of purpose, that empowerment, and employment that you touched upon is such a huge factor. It's the missing jigsaw puzzle in many instances.
Yeah.
It means that those people have that long-term independence, but also that social camaraderie that's often missing from being in the armed forces.
Well, that's it. I've already seen some people here yesterday and also today all coming in, all patting each other on the back. It's early in the morning. They're all up for it because it is really that team spirit. And that's why I wanted to come here today, folks, because one thing that I'm really concerned about is that employment factor. There's 2 points to that, actually, Joel. One is we need a lot of people in the construction industry, particularly the plant sector,
Yeah.
and a lot of people in the armed forces have been trained to use equipment. And also, we need that sense of bringing people who've served for us, in the armed forces into those sort of roles where they can have that same camaraderie. Construction's great. You've got teams of people that are working to build stuff and create things for everyone, haven't you?
Yeah, correct me. Do not get me wrong. So yes, these individuals have had physical or sometimes invisible injuries, but Walking with the Wounded would never present an individual to an employer that was not work ready. That's the whole point.
Right.
Because if we get that wrong, it's a massive knock to that person's confidence. So at the point in which we present an individual, they are work ready, and actually they provide a plethora of skills that have been taught from the armed forces, and it's great diversity within a workforce as well. These individuals bring something new. We talked about the camaraderie, but also we talked about the fact that these individuals always aspire, they adapt, they overcome. It's part of the principles of the armed forces. Who would not want that within their workforce?
Absolutely.
And actually we would be doing a disservice if we close a door to the armed forces, not maliciously, not on purpose, but just by not bringing this to the fore and saying that we are a forces friendly organisation. We've been working with Sunbelt, as you've mentioned. We've really sort of dialed up the employment over the last, I'd say, 3 months, something like that. Within that time, we've had 9 people employed at Sunbelt Rentals.
Right, okay.
And, I will say that's brilliant and amazing, but we can do so much more. But what I'd love to hear as well is what Sunbelt think. And I would not be surprised if they say it's enhanced the culture, it's enhanced the diversity, and there's such a cultural fit for an organisation like that in plant hire and within construction that you've mentioned as well.
And let's be honest, you know, Sunbelt has been at the forefront of a war that we've been raging against the pandemic. You know, they've set up the NHS testing centres, they've set up some of the emergency hospital facilities, which fortunately we haven't had to use. But that kind of mentality, that kind of togetherness, that kind of work ethic that has had to go on within this pandemic has brought, you know, a whole organisation, they only just rebranded before the pandemic, together. But the kind of skills that we're talking about there that have already been developed are absolutely perfect for, you know, putting construction sites together and for making sure they work efficiently as possible, because we're not just talking here about what we hear, the social value aspect of walking with the wounded and stuff. We're talking about carbon emissions, we're talking about doing things better, talking about net zero, and everybody has a part to play in that within the construction environment. So it really is a place where you can find the people, you can get them ready for the construction industry like you're doing, and we can get them shipped out into sites across the UK. So the most important thing to end up with here is what's the way that people can get in touch with you, whether it is people walking with the wounded, whether it's people that are veterans that want to change and move into Civvy Street, as it's called, what the people do if they're a business and they say, we've got lots of employment opportunities. How do they get in touch?
Yeah, well, we're not a faceless organisation. We've got teams on the ground ready to have a conversation with anyone that wants to offer support. And in this digital age, we've got all the social media platforms that you could shake a stick at. We've got our website, but ultimately it comes down to a very, very, very simple thing. Send us an email. It's info@wwtw.org.uk, and that will be picked up by a team that's manning that inbox. It will get through to the right individual. We'll put a face to that name and we'll get the ball rolling.
And that is one of the faces, folks, that is behind that email. I know he was looking yesterday at stuff coming in. Joel, it's been great to talk to you. Have a brilliant day today. I hope you raise an awful lot of money, and the awareness is equally important for today, but for people to have fun with your charity at Grasmere. Let's hope it's not going to rain. It's certainly there now. Great to talk to you.
And you too, Peter. Thank you for your time, and thank you to all from Sunbelt that represented today as well.
Cheers.
Cheers.